So thank you everyone for joining us today. This is our weekly webinar at Promyze. We are talking today about refactoring. It will be a live session with Guillaume and Yoan. So we're really pleased to welcome you guys. So I guess now we should call you Tonton Crafter, I guess. This is your new nicknames. So just to start, let's have a quick introduction. So I can let you start, Guillaume, if you want.
Yeah. So my name is Guillaume. I am a developer advocate at Vonage, and the Tontons Crafters is something we never really discussed about it, but it seems like it has been like that for a year. But we need to communicate using that name more. I think to be discussed.
It's pretty cool, yeah.
Okay, thanks. And you, Yoan?
Yeah, so I am an agile technical coach. So basically, what is it? You can find it on the Promyze blog. I made an interview with you, Cedric, a few years, maybe 2 years ago or 1 year. I don't remember. Basically, I coach teams to get better at delivering quality software. Yeah, through techniques like TDD, for example, test-driven development, refactoring, property-based testing, everything with DD, domain-driven design, ATDD, stuff like this.
Great. And just share the link on the chat if you're interested to know more about what is agile technical coaching from Yoan's point of view. And just to introduce myself, so I'm Cédric Téton. I'm CEO and co-founder of Promyze. I'm also a software developer. And so for people who do not know Promyze, we are a software editor, and we are developing a software platform to raise and share coding best practices. And during this year, we are hosting regular webinars, and with really nice guests. And today, this is our first session about refactoring code and our first live coding session. So we're pleased to have you guys about that topic. Feel free to ask any question, whether on the chat or you have a questions tab where you can also write any question at any time. During the live session, we'll take a look at the chat, and we try to take your questions as soon as they came. So really feel free to ask anything. We really want to make sure everything can be understood from you. And just for the record, the webinar is recorded, and it will be available on our YouTube channel today or tomorrow, but very soon. So you will be free to access it later, and also to share it to other people if you want. So I can invite you, Guillaume and Yoan, to take the control of the screen, and you can, if you want, introduce the live coding session of today.
Yeah. So now is the time to share the link, Cedric?
Yep.
And I'm going to share my screen. Wait a sec.
It is a link. So what is this link?
Okay, normally, you can see my screen. So we're going to use a specific repository for the integrity of the session. And it's a repository called Tell Don't Ask. It's a kata which is quite well known. And we're going to focus on a single use case here, which is the order creation use case. So what we want to do first with Yoan is invite you to open the repo on your side. You won't have to code anything, relax. But we want you to look at this particular use case. So just to give you an example, if we have some kind of clean-ish architecture, we're going to have three things to take care of. Order creation is going to be our main use case, and it also uses two things from entities, which are order and order item. And what we want to know from your point of view is, looking at the order creation use case, the one I have at the screen at the moment, what are your thoughts? What do you see? Why? Etc. etc. So let us know in the comment, let us know in the chat, ask questions or whatever. We'll review that in 2-3 minutes. And I just want to say one more thing. Why did we pick specifically this kata and maybe this use case and not another one? It's because it represents, well, it represents what we see most of the time in enterprise applications. We see the same smells, the same problems, the same practices, and it's a good example to, let's say, try stuff in a sandbox environment.
Yes, Hugo, you can do it like this. Yeah, every code smells that you can see from this code, everything that could be improved, and stuff like this. Yeah, it was a question from Hugo.
Yeah, I saw. So, Yoan, anything to add to what I said, or are we okay?
No, I think we're good. Let's take, just like you said, 2 minutes for that. Just enumerate everything that you can see from this code, and then we can maybe demonstrate a little bit what is around this use case, show quickly the code,
Yeah.
and then we can go through our live coding session.
No problem.
There is no good or bad answer, so don't hesitate to put your smell directly in the chat.
The only good answer is it depends. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, as usual.
And using C# is not really an answer in our context.
Yeah.
I'm
not sure people are you really wanting to pick a fight right now? Okay, let's do it.
No.
No. But in the meantime, while people are writing stuff, just to give you a bit more information about what we're going to do today, we're going to use this use case to run a kind of a code review. Okay, so let's see out what we have here. Let's see what you see and what we can do about specific topics right there. So we'll have plenty of things to share, and I hope we'll have good recommendations from you guys. So we'll see.
So we start to have some suggestions in the chat. It's cool, thank you.
Okay, so I see the first one from Hugo. An object with, this one is interesting, meaning that the object is created and we use the getters and setters to change values, and meaning this object can be in invalid state, which is a very good point. I totally agree.
Yep.
We
have one from Yoan.
Do more things from Yoan.
I think it's more from my understanding of your sentence, Yoan, sorry for that. It's more too much things inside before each. Is it your fault? Yes. Okay.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Okay.
David,
point as well.
should we not start looking at tests? That's a very good point, because it's something we didn't say yet. There are tests in the code base, and it's fairly simple. You have a set of items or something, we don't know, that are passed to our use case with the method run, and we expect the result to be on to retrieve a result from our repository. There aren't much in the test when you look at it. There is 2 tests, one for the exception of unknown product and one for a more positive scenario. But that's a very good point. But we'll show you before we do anything on the code base, every test pass. Yeah. There's another one from Hugo. The other item seems dynamic because it does not manage this one. That's very good. That's very good. Totally agree. Maybe 1 or 2 more, and then I think we can go. Because I see Hugo is still typing. So
Yeah.
He has more ideas.
You got plenty of ideas. Yeah. That's good.
Oh, by the way, I didn't show them. But as Hugo said, order and order item, they are anemic, and it means that they don't do anything. They are just structures to hold data, but they don't do anything with it. And we'll see that it may be a problem.
Yeah. here goes another smell. The process of adding an order item in an order could be encapsulated in order. It's its own responsibility to add an item in inside. In it. So yeah, we'll talk about it. Yeah, that's very good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Like a dynamic one and so on. So definitely we will work on it during the session. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, and I really enjoy the wording over here. Encapsulation, responsibility. We are going to talk about all that. Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks for sharing. Code review time. The first tip I'm going to give you if you have to run a code review is do not run it from GitHub or Azure DevOps or any tool you use for pull requests, because they only show you the difference. And what else could we use? Well, get the code, clone it, go on the branch and open it on your IDE. Why? Because your IDE will already tell you a lot of stuff, right? So I just had writer open right there. This is my use case. This is my order. This is my writer. There we are. We're on the test to show you everything's working. That's very good. And we have plenty of things already on the screen that we need to take care about. So first thing that I see is I have gray stuff here and here. We don't see that on the pull request or on the code review platform you use. But the IDE is helping us. So for example, the first thing I'd like to do right here is use the IDE to remove the parameter and update the usage. So that's very powerful. I'm going to show you that. At the moment, if we have run, we have a parameter, John Doe, and we have John Doe. But it's not used, so let's remove it. And if you look, it changed the test as well. It removed John Doe. So we're already cleaning the code thanks to our IDE. We all see run the test always because it was not used. We can also have, here we have the else being grayed out as well. Whoops. Which means it's redundant. It serves nothing because anyway, if we go into this one, it breaks. So again, removed it. That's great. And we have other things here that you can see. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Promyze. Coincidence? I don't know. We'll show you later that, for example, we had a code space where we filled a few practices, and we managed to actually put regexes for every single one of them. So we'll be able to detect everything. And one we had here before I clean it was primitive obsession, because we used to have a string and a dictionary of string and int. And even if we removed, for example, now the string, the name, we still have a problem with primitive obsession because we have strings and ints inside my dictionary. But what does a string mean and what does the int mean? We don't know. It's just a couple of values. It's a key value pair. And actually, when you look at it, if I want to know what the string is and what the int is, I need to look at the item request. Okay, key is passed to a gateName method. So I assume the key is an item name, I assume. And if I look at the value, I think there is something with an amount somewhere. Okay, but I also see that it's a quantity. Okay, so that's already something to work with. Because actually, when I see string int, it can be anything. But if I know it's name and quantity, it's already different. So we can, in that, we can try to improve that. And the way it's flagged as primitive obsession. Well, when you have plenty of primitives, you don't have any domain ID around. One of the things we could do is, for example, to try to use value objects. Yeah. So another example could be, let's say you have like string first name, string last name, and ID and int. What could first name, last name, and ID could be? Could be a person, could be a customer, could be a client, could be anything. And it's interesting to get more than just the values. So this is why also you shouldn't, I think tuples shouldn't be used too much. The link doesn't work. That's something new. Give me a sec.
Not from here. I've pasted it into the chat. So if you can click from here into the chat.
There we go. And here we have an example, a full page that you can use that explain why, for example, carrying a lot of primitives is not very good and how you can try to improve that. Let's try to do that. So I'm going to start here. So at the moment in cell multiple items, what we have is a dictionary of string. What I'm going to do is create, let me know in the chat if the screen is big enough or if you want me to zoom in, but I can do that. Let's create a new collection for items, and we don't want a dictionary, but we want something. The first thing we need to, no problem.
Yeah.
Is it better?
Maybe, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, let's look back. The first thing is dictionary. We already have something special about it because every string in the dictionary should be unique. Let's change to something else, a hash set. Now what we have here is, if you remember, it was a name and a quantity. And honestly, I have no idea what it is, but it's fine. We are in the order creation use case. Let's create like a create order item. We'll see later if we have a better name for it. Let's create it. I want it to be a record. And we said string name and ent quantity. So, okay, that's good. Like this, and I can create my salad and my tomato. That's the example. That's all right. Those two here and tomato at the bottom.
Yep.
Okay. So now what I want to do
may you
is
explain? Sorry, Guillaume. Could you explain just in a few words why we start by the tests? Maybe it's important.
Because we change the expectation we have from our use case. So when you basically change something that is observable from the outside, meaning the input, the signature or the output of your system or the side effects of your system, you should start with the test because it's observable. So it's what we do here. We are changing the expectation. I don't want a dictionary to be passed anymore. I want a collection of create order items. And yeah, it's always a good idea to start with a test. So what I'm going to do now is to pass my new items to the run method. Of course, it doesn't work because we have a dictionary. That's fine. I can ask to create an overload. And we have a problem because I created create order item in my test. So now I need to go real quick to this. I want this one to be moved. Yeah. And I'm going to move it in the use case folder. We'll have to talk about this folder later on because there is something wrong about it. Here we are. That's good. So now I have my method. It doesn't do anything. I can remove my items here. And if I run my test, this one should fail. And this one still works because it's still using the old method. That's fine. So right now I know that I have a failing test. And this is the beginning of my TDD loop. Okay, so now I need to kind of make this test pass quite fast. The idea I have is just, I'm going to take the code. We're not going to do something more complicated than that. And use items new that we're going to replace here with items. And key becomes name based on what we saw, and value becomes quantity. Here we are. So now this one should pass if I run it. Yeah, it works. So I can do actually here also another. I wanted to show something as well. You can apply also multi-thread refactoring on the same file. There. So that's good, and we need to change this one as well, which was here now. We're going to return a new hash setup. Yeah. Create order item. I can do it. Yeah, working. And normally the first one should be not used anymore. It's grayed out. We use the old one. And here we are. And we didn't do much, but actually, when you look at the code now, you know that you have an item that means something coming in, and you know what properties it has. So when you read the code, it's like a huge change. Imagine that on a bigger method with more things to remember on a bigger code base. It's easy fixes that really have a great value for you to have. And just before letting Yoan go, actually, you'll see that on the code base, we made sure that every commit was very detailed and that we follow a step-by-step approach. So you'll be able to check everything later on. So Yoan,
yep,
it's your turn.
Yeah, thank you. So let me share my screen. Yep.
So don't hesitate to ask questions as well. We'll try to answer to them as soon as we can.
Okay, normally you should be able to see my screen.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. So yeah, I check out the over branch. So I start where Guillaume left the exercise. So let me go back to the use case. So we are in an order creation use case. So basically what we want to do is create an order, then save it inside our repository. And we would like maybe to encapsulate the creation of an order and stuff like this inside the domain itself. It was a quote from Hugo, I think. Yeah, we have what we call a domain, an dynamic domain. It's the kind of stuff that is really hard to catch with a tool like Promyze because it's based on regex. I'm not a huge expert in regex. I don't know if you could catch this kind of stuff. But basically,
I think it would be really hard. And just to even if you look at the other regexes we have, Yoan and I both hate regex, and actually we asked ChatGPT to generate them for us. We were so lazy to do that. So, and it works very well. We catch everything. So that's just saying.
Yeah, we should explore this option. But basically, what we would like to talk about is not something that is really observable from Promyze at the moment. Or yeah, we didn't successfully created a regex for it at the moment. Basically, what we would like to talk about is really the tell don't ask principle. What we have for now, we have this kind of stuff. We have this kind of stuff. And what I would like to demonstrate is maybe another use case. We have some other use cases in our system. And it's maybe more relevant, maybe in this one or in the shipment, in the approval use case, for example. We have this kind of code. Yeah, maybe this one is more relevant for what we want to explain. Imagine you don't need that much imagination because it's under your eyes, but yeah, we start by getting an object from our domain. So basically we read our order from our database through an order repository. We don't care about the database, if it's a NoSQL database or whatever. We don't care about it. It's an order. We have an order. Then from our use case, so we are not in the domain, we have this kind of rules. It's basically transition rules for going from one state to another state. It's basically part of the business logic of the order. And we are here in the use case. So basically, what is inside the use case? I ask the state of the order, and if the order is in this state, I take the decision from here to throw a new shipped orders cannot be changed exception. If it's approved and the order, if it's approved from the request and the order is in status rejected, I throw this exception and so on and so on. And here we have the transition really. So going from one state to another, so setting the new state inside the entity itself from the use case. Just like you said, Hugo, it's the kind of stuff that we want to avoid. We would like to have really non-dynamic domain model. We wouldn't like to have rich domain model that cares behaviors. This kind of stuff, like this, seems really procedural. In OP, what we would like to have, let me just open this one, yeah. In OP, we would like to go from, we would like to avoid really procedural code. Procedural code, you can see it like this. I have some logic. I ask to some data, which is your state, and based on the answers from the object, let's say it like this, or based on the data, I will make some decision. Now, we would like to go from this procedural code, that's the purpose of OOP, to object-oriented code, in which I tell objects to do things. So objects and their business logic, so data plus their business logic, should be encapsulated. And from the outside, ideally, I will see only behaviors. Is it okay for that? And why? Yeah, maybe why
one
we
thing
want to avoid.
One thing I want to add maybe on that is, so we said before it was tricky to have Promyze detect this one, but you have on your side easy ways to identify this. Usually, when you get an object and you do tons of operations directly on the object, this is exactly where it happens, because you should not have to interact with the objects. And just like Yoan said, move everything inside and ask him something, tell him something.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's the other way around.
Yeah, one really big smell, it's like this. When you have setters, getter setters everywhere, setters are evil in this kind of code, in domain models. Really, they are evil. So if you have this kind of setters in your domain models, you probably have some kind of issues with your code. So yeah, if we go back to the example, the order in our domain for now is just a container of data. Checking the state and make decision based on the state is inside the use case. It's not very, yeah, the problem with that is we will maybe duplicate some business logic outside from the object, and the order for now is just a container of data. So we will duplicate some code, that's for sure. Maybe we'll have some bugs because we will do it. We'll have some issues in our code. Duplication is always hard to maintain. And the purpose of really having this kind of domain model, of this kind of object, is really to carry some behavior. So we want to be able to have an order in the wrong state. For now, nothing prevents me to do something like this. Yeah, let's imagine this. Maybe you would be happy if Amazon would do something like this. Imagine I have nothing that prevents me to do something like this. Order item. Yeah, let's do it like this. And product. Let's say I will buy a product name, the more expensive product you have, with a price. Yeah, price. Quantity. It's not a. Oh yeah, it's not a. It's a product, but yeah, just to demonstrate the stuff, I would just continue. And I say, okay, a tax will be of 0, and the tax demand will be of 0. You will be happy if you can do this kind of stuff, but I don't think it's in the interest of your e-commerce shopper to do it.
Yeah,
so,
I'm not sure the client will be happy at the end if you do that.
Yeah, that's why we need to work on it, definitely. So basically, we want to transition from asking questions to our code to make decision inside the use case to encapsulate the behaviors inside the domain model itself. To do so, what I propose is to start by saying, okay, to create an order, we shouldn't be able to create an order in an invalid state. So maybe we can create some kind of factory to do it, factory method, for example. So I start by extracting a method that I will call create order, for example, first thing. And yeah, maybe I can show you this. Yeah, really cool stuff inside the Rider, in the JetBrains tool. Every time I will save my code, normally it should work. Yeah, it will run my test. So you have an instant feedback loop, a few second feedback loop. Yeah, it's not that fast.
It depends on the performance of your test suite.
Yeah, that's it. But you can isolate. You can say run only tests that are concerned by the change of the code. Yeah, because it's a really small solution. I run everything. So we have a create order. Yeah. For now we haven't moved that much. But let's say I will change it. I will put the creation of the order. So this method, the static method, so this factory method at the end, I will move it to the order. Yeah. we use a lot of shortcuts. Normally, it should be yeah, I think it should be shown. Yeah, move via F6. So it's shown here if you want to replicate it. So create order. I move it to order. It's saying basically it was a private method. I need to change the access right, so it will become internal or I think it's public by default in Rider. Here I can say that. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. By just doing it, as you can see, I have a feedback from my IDE saying, okay, init can now be made private. So once items are set and currency are set, we can pass them in private. So, but I will keep it for later because we are more interesting thing to do. Just by doing some automatic refactoring, you will see. Yeah, another automatic refactoring. Yeah, just optional. And from here, I can say.
Yeah, we just have a question in the chat from Julien, and I'd like your point of view as well because I already replied, but as you can't see the chat. So Julien asks, so you say that each entities of the domain should have factories but instantiated only via these factories. What do you think?
Yeah, as you prefer. It depends, but yeah, normally
it depends always.
It's always a bit. Yeah, it's just a choice. Yeah, we could have public constructors, but we restrict a lot of stuff. But will force you to instantiate objects. Just like this one, I can pass it private, but I could maybe let it in public. It depends. It's just a choice here. What I would like to have at the end for this purpose of this exercise, but it can be other decision that you can make in real life. But from here, yeah, we will force the creation of order just by passing through this factory method. In real life, it's an option that you can take as well. It can be a factory method, or it can be a dedicated factory for your aggregates. It really depends on how you want to implement it. But yeah, the idea is really to encapsulate the creation of those kind of entities. So either by constructor or by factory. But I like to use factory because you will see a little bit later. Sometimes in factory you have some logic, and it's always it's not really a good idea to have this the kind of logic that we will have in other constructors inside constructors. The constructor should only set stuff inside the object, initiate the object at the end. From my point of view,
I want to add as well is we really focus on having something that is in safe state, like I mentioned in the chat. But here, using a factory method for that, you remove the possibility for creating something which is invalid. That is a huge, and actually this is just a starting point, because then it allows you also to think about what if we apply parse and validate, for example, because you already delegated all the validation. And then you can have an entire system that is built upon, let's say, the rule of you can't create something invalid. And for you and for the other developers on the team, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Yoan, I'm looking at the timeline. I think we need to fast forward a bit.
Yeah, but it's really quick from the use case after it. I won't go into too much details. So now, yeah, we have a create order. We have just started to re-encapsulate stuff. As you can see, we have just this factory method for now. The idea will be to have as well the creation of the order item and the add of the order item encapsulated as well in the order. I will show you in a few minutes this. But now what we could do is to say, okay, we have all the stuff that we may extract from this. We could say, okay, I want to create order item factory method as well. But if you take a look at this, by selecting all the code inside the for each. So basically we have a for each from the command or from the hash set. We iterate on it and we want to create an order item per item inside the collection. Yeah, here we can see that we have a weird method definition. So it's saying it returns a decimal, it takes a decimal in out and an order item. So we need to work on the definition of the method first. Why we have it? Because we have this kind of stuff. And here, another point that you may have seen a lot in code bases, we reuse something that is already encapsulated in order item. So if I do it like this, order item dot tax, I just replace it like this. Order
just saying
item
something
dot,
else also. You've seen what was in the tool from Rider to extract the method, and actually something very interesting. Even if you try that without doing the refactoring on your code base, the reason it was so complicated to do it is because we have too many side effects in the code. The code was basically affecting 3 things. That's too much because you can't really extract it. So that's already at least a smell and a way for you to isolate, okay, maybe I need to work on this process a bit and this method to make it a bit simpler and a bit more fluent.
Yeah, and that's for this one, for example, what if I go back to the order, we have a public static method. So it's basically saying, okay, I can call you without an instance of order, and we would like exactly the same. It's a pure function that you can call from anywhere at any time. But here, what is interesting, Rider automatically create order item method, but it's not static. Why? Because we have a product catalog. So basically it's a repository that can get a product by his name. But yeah, it's an instance field. So I need to work on it. What we can do is to say, okay, we will change the definition of the method. We will say, we want a new stuff as an input, product, catalog, and then we finish like this. And we can call it product catalog. So it's an automated refactoring as well. Here, basically, the feedback loop from Rider saying, okay, your code won't be able to compile. Okay, let's do it like this. Now, I will use a product catalog from here. As you can see, Rider is pretty cool. Yeah, now it can be static. So pure function as well. No side effect. I can say, I can inline this one. Yeah, return your order item. And here I don't compile because I need to pass. I need to pass definitely. Yeah, I need to pass the instance of the product catalog in the creation or the creation. And it's why I wanted to make this one, because it will definitely answer to your question, Julien, from earlier. So now I can say I will push this method. So I will take this method and I take the run method because it's used inside it. So yeah, I will take those 2 methods together and I will push them inside order item. So yeah, I move them. Yep. Yeah. As you can see, the code is a little bit lightest now. Okay, navigate from here to here. Yep. So what is interesting here, I can say every init accessor can be private. And what I can do, just like we've done earlier, convert initializer to constructor. Yep. And now I can say, yeah, no more need to have any init or private setters in this class.
Which makes the
and now the constructor
immutable.
can be, and I can remove all the stuff that are necessary. So if you want to create an order item, now you are forced to create it from this factory method. And yeah, why we favor factory method? Because here, if you want to create an order item, you definitely need, at this moment, I'm not going further in the refactoring, you need to have a product catalog that makes possible the getting to get some data, some over data structure that is called product. We could do it differently and create order item by passing directly the product from the outside. But yeah, it's a choice, yeah, not to go too much further in refactoring. So yeah, because we need to move on, I will just roll back my code and show you the latest step. So the idea was really to re-encapsulate, to have some kind of to going from a code that asks questions to the domain model to a code that is more telling to the object what to do. So what has been done to finish the exercise on tell don't ask principle? We have a node. We have let me go back to the order creation use case. So now we have just in the use case at the end of this step, we have a save method that is called on your repository, and we call just the order.new method. So it's basically the create method that I've created earlier. Inside it, we instantiate an order. We iterate on each item inside the create order item inside the hash set. And we add inside the order, we add each order item created from this command in entry. So everything has been encapsulated inside the entity, inside the order entity. And another stuff that has been done here is to say, okay, inside the order item now it's immutable. We can only create it from this factoring method, but other interesting stuff. Everything, every calculation that was made, part of the calculation that was made inside the order item or inside the use case at the beginning has been put inside the product itself, because a unitary tax on the product should be calculated inside the product itself. It doesn't mean anything to have it. Yeah, it's not really relevant to have it inside the order item. The product should know its tax, should know its taxed amount. So we have pushed it inside the product itself. So we have this kind of method. It's just pure method on the product itself. So it just returns a result from a calculation. So it was basically what we wanted to show you inside this step. As you can see, the result is really a use case with almost nothing inside. So we create an order and we save it inside the from the repository, with the repository, and the business logic is now inside the order and inside the order item. Are we good for that? No question in the chat, Guillaume?
No.
Nope.
Hugo is typing,
okay, cool.
Maybe.
He's not.
Okay.
So another stuff that was interesting. Yeah, just to finish. Yeah, sorry, Guillaume. Just to finish it, please. I don't recommend to expose directly a list like this at the outside world. It was exactly like this at the beginning of this session. Yeah, even if you have only a getter on it, you can always change the list from the outside world. So the idea is really to encapsulate this kind of stuff as well. So either you have a dedicated collection, an order item collection, for example, that you own, that restricts the add on the collection itself with business rules and stuff like this, or you can use read-only list like this, or sec if you use another sequence or list from other libraries. But yeah, really make it impossible to add new stuff or remove stuff from your domain model as well.
Yeah, you need to be careful, because actually when you get something with a property, you get the instance. But it doesn't mean it can't be changed, because then maybe the instance has also a way to change and behaviors and stuff that you can manipulate.
Yeah. That's
okay.
why
I'm going to share my screen again, and
yeah,
we'll go through the next one. Yeah. Okay. All good. So we have one more thing to show you. It won't be long. But so, what? Where did Yoan left us? Well, he did a lot of refactoring. My creation use case is now empty. And if I look above, initially from Yoan, there was another question about the for each. Now the for each is in the order class. Oh, I need to read them again. Sorry. Here we go. And again, we have here something from Promyze that, hey, you should try not to have for loops anymore. And why should we try to avoid for loops? The reason is it's not directly against loops, but it's more that everything inside a loop is normally something. It's a function that is applied to every single element of the collection, and keeping it like that, it creates branching, it creates a heavy code landscape, and there are ways to actually make it a bit better. And it can lead also to good stuff that you don't see at the beginning. So how could I remove the for each? Well, items is normally a hash set here, so it doesn't have the method, but if I do items.toList, list is a specific implementation that has a for each method. And the for each method takes function that takes an item inside, and that does something with it.
Yeah, if you're not familiar with .NET, an action is just a function that returns void.
That's
I think
correct.
it's what's the name in Java? I don't remember. It's not a supplier. It's a
Don't ask
I
me.
don't remember.
You can use for each as well in Java. If it returns something else than void, you can just use a map or something like this, I guess.
Yeah.
So as you can see, I replaced all that by this in a single line, and it does the same thing. So suddenly the code is definitely smaller. And the thing is, we can even make it smaller. Because right now we have something a bit interesting. It's we create an order and we take every element of the list and we apply something on this order directly. This looks like an aggregate, or depending on which language you are, a map, or a reduce, sorry, or a fold. But we have like aggregate, where I can say my beginning stuff is a new order, and then that tells me what to do. Order one because of names, yeah, I know, that's not a problem. And I can put that actually inside. Not completely, but you'll see what I mean. This, an item. Here we just have a problem. This method returns void. And normally each should return something of our running value. So I start with an empty order and I go through every single item and I keep a running value. And the thing is, I want to keep this value updated. Well, it's fairly simple. Order, return this, and we're good to go. And I can actually do that. Return, run the test. It's working. Further refactoring, and we can then isolate what's happening. This and this. And now the way to go further actually to extract all that into another method to make it a bit easier. But in a way, when you look at it, we don't really need the loop. You don't need to actually iterate over anything. You can apply transformation mechanism. And it makes the code base smaller. Yeah, it depends. Is going to be like the main answer to everything. For the performance stuff, I think what you need to remember using LinkQ specifically is, as it's a transformation mechanism, every time you call an extension method on a collection, so select, group by, where, aggregate, whatever, every time you return a new list. And if you, let's say, do a lot of them, you can actually create several copies of the same list. That's the only thing that may happen. Otherwise, it's not really a performance issue or whatever. Here, the idea is really to make the code a bit more readable. So now the only thing we can make to make it more readable is to put that into a method, is to put that into another method that we can also use a method group later on. That's the idea. So you think about your loops. Do you really need them? Can't you just use good old LinkQ to do something with it? That's up to you. That's basically everything we wanted to show you, but there is a little bonus that we don't have time to do today, but that we're happy to show anyway. And actually, I don't remember where you put it now. Where is it for the here? Yeah, we have another rocket ship from Promyze as well, because they detected that we are throwing an exception. You need to ask yourself also whether you want to throw or not exceptions for multiple reasons. And if you want to know more, go on the webpage. Thank you, Cedric. And mainly, for example, just something I want to say before we stop this one is here. What happened is we ask for a product. The product doesn't exist. exceptions should be used for exceptional and unexpected behaviors. Having a product that you don't have, is it really unexpected and exceptional? Because at the end, the name is going to come from a user request. What if there's a typo? What if there is anything? It's not really unexpected or exceptional. It's quite the opposite. It should be expected. In that case, should you throw an exception? It's up to you. So I won't say more about it because we need more time to talk about that. We need a lot of time to talk about
we can maybe we can demonstrate, just show you what was the result of the transformation. I can share my screen if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just to spoil a little bit. Yeah, I won't go through. Yeah, is it okay? You see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to show you what we have done with it, just really quickly. We have implemented what I will show you using TDD. So basically, we have expressed, just like Guillaume demonstrated at the beginning of this webinar, we have used TDD to express our test to express a new expectation from our code. And we said, okay, we expect from our use case now, when we call the run method, to return another thing, a result.
Oh, by the way, one more thing.
Is it good?
Just because regarding what you said, we use TDD for primitive obsession. We're using TDD for this exception stuff. We didn't use TDD for tell, don't ask, and for the loop. I just want to focus a little bit on why. And I said it at the beginning. Changing the signature or the side effect with exceptions, it's observable from the outside. It's observable from your test. When we change the loops or tell, don't ask, we change the internals. You don't see that from the outside. And in those cases, it doesn't make sense to start from the test because the test stays the same. So yeah, I just wanted to focus on that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yep. So basically, the idea we have used a library called LanguageX. So it's in .NET. You have an equivalent in Java. An equivalent. You have something similar in Java. Let's say it like this. That is called Vather. And for Kotlin, we have another one that is called ROKT. You have this kind of stuff in for every language. Let's say it like this. Why I say it? Because now our use case, if you take a look at the code at the end of what we have done for now on this exercise, we are something like this. We have a use case, we still call run on it, but it returns an either. So basically a result saying either you have a result that is an unknown product or an order if it's successful. And then we can check, okay, if the inserted order, I don't know why it's in gray here, but well, I don't know. Basically, we have an inserted order as a result of the run of our use case. So we have used the data structure that is called either, that comes from LanguageX. It's basically what we call a monad structures that can represent the result of a process, a computation. And by doing it, we have no more exception in our code. Yeah, I don't want to do it like this. I wanted to click here. We don't have any exception anymore. And if you think about it, why we have done it? Because if you think about it, the previous state of our order was to say, if you call a new refactoring method on order, it will always return an order. But if you think about it, it's a lie, because in some cases, if some products are not known by the system, it will throw an exception. It will throw an exception. So now, by using this kind of data structure, we have no lie anymore. I can hear you typing, Guillaume, I think.
Sorry, I was replying to the chat.
Yeah, there was a question about how to handle more than 2 results in the monad, I think.
So
I think
you put a result. Yeah, it depends on your language, yeah.
Okay.
So basically, it depends how you want to capture error, to describe errors in your process. It really depends. So here, for example, so it can be a good example of it. So if it contains failure, this one, for example,
I'm just.
order item.
I'll give it a try because actually the thing is when you manipulate these kind of structures, they represent a failure state and a success state, and that's what you have most of the time. So you can extend that using, for example, the one-off, which is there is a library for that as well, where you can have a lot of possibilities, more than two. But then you need to ask yourself also, I have two states, but I may have, for example, more than one type of element in my failure state. And it's something I use in my code base, for example, because you can have multiple errors, but they're all errors at the end. So do you need more than two? You can have different values of the same type with different data that you can use with then, I don't know, a matching pattern or something.
Yeah. It is called the one-off that you are talking about. It's called discriminated unions in a lot of functional programming language or functional languages. Here, what I've done, for example, in this example, we have at the level of the creation of the instantiation of an order item, for example, we use an error that is called unknown product, without an S at the end. It can be confusing. It's basically saying, okay, this product is unknown from our system. But if we take a look at the order, here we return an unknown product that is, in fact, an aggregation of several unknown products. So we return it like this. But yeah, just like you said, you need to think about how you want to describe errors, business errors in the, just like you explained earlier, we should maybe avoid exceptions for this kind of stuff. You should think about it, how you want to describe them to your end users, and maybe to the one that will consume your domain at the end, your domain model. But it can seem a little bit scary at the beginning, because if you take a look at this kind of data structure, you will read a lot of stuff regarding functional programming with either monad, monoid, functor, and stuff like this. But at the end, it's really easy to understand. A lot of scary terms, but at the end, it makes a lot of sense, and it can really make your code more readable and more easier to maintain.
If I have one advice on that, is don't pay attention to the names, because you have plenty of scary names indeed. But the thing is, you've been manipulating this kind of object before. You've been actually, all the concepts behind, you probably know them already, just under a different name or without a name at all. So don't be afraid about that. The best thing you can do is actually to try and experiment.
Yeah.
Yoan, I think we're a bit on overtime.
Yeah, we can close here. Yeah.
Okay.
So just before we wanted to share a few things before the end. So normally, well, you had the links for the knowledge base, so what we call the extreme.tdd.netlify app. That's a free knowledge base you can use. It's article that Yoan, I, and other people wrote about stuff we found, and the idea was to trying to provide a shortcut to get to specific knowledge and specific ID that are usually harder to find. And they are based on what we see on a daily basis in every code base. So it's something you can use. And we also, so for this session, we used Promyze. So I don't know how it works. Cedric, maybe you'll be able to explain, but we made basically those practices inside with the regex. So in a way they are usable. Well, we use it in our IDE, so I don't know if there is a possibility to share them, or to let them open, or to extract them, or I don't know.
We will share them. We have a public hub of best coding practices at Promyze, so it's a public hub of any kind of best practices that have been creating using the platform Promyze, and everyone can share everyone can share his own best practices. So you will be able to find your best practices on this hub, maybe today or tomorrow.
Okay. So if few people would like to try them and see what they are, if they highlight something on your code base, try. The only thing I want to mention is we had to cheat a little bit for the primitive obsession because the regex is like insane, because the idea is to try to get basically a method signature that has more than one parameter and where they're all primitive types, including dictionaries and stuff with the generics. And even that ChatGPT-4 failed miserably to do that. No, we cheated on this one. The other works perfectly. This one you can tweak it if you like regex, because we don't, sadly. Last thing to share is the Kata actually Extreme TDD. So we have a free open source available Kata that guides you through all the steps we've seen today. Actually, we have I think it's 12 branches. Each branch is focusing on one key aspect. So we have one for loops, we have one for primitive obsessions, we have other things like that. And so it's free. There are step-by-step guides that really details everything. Literally, my grandma could do the workshop if she wanted. So it's if you want to try an experiment, you can. I mean, take it at free. I can't do better than that. And yeah, I think that's it. Did I forget anything? Yoan?
Yeah, maybe just if you have any feedback to give, don't hesitate to put it on the chat. And if you like this kind of session, we can really organize over session like this, because definitely we have we have made a training based on it, based on what we have called Extreme TDD. It was 2 days, and I think we have the content for 5 days at least. So if you are if you like this kind of stuff, we can definitely organize others webinar like this if it's okay for you, Cedric, and you, Franz.
It will be a pleasure. Maybe we can just say a few words about the Software Craft Luxembourg meetup you co-organized.
It's the biggest thing on the screen, and I didn't see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe you just want to introduce.
Yeah, Yoan, go ahead. It's your baby after all.
No, I'm not the. I'm the founder, but I'm not the organizer anymore. So the floor is yours.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take it. So basically, it used to be Yoan's meetup. He created it like several years ago, and now that he is in the tropical environment, we basically took over, me and two other guys, and we try to. We try to do our best actually to make people happy. So far we're able to have one event per month. We are also for the next 2-3 months we'll have 2 or 3 per month, and we try to talk about everything around craft, about everything. People basically sharing what they like, ideas, problems, etc. So we really cover a lot of different topics. You're free to come, because the thing is, since COVID, we are operating fully remotely on this one. So it's an online meetup, and it's going to stay like this, I think, for a while. So if you want to join, you're more than welcome. And actually, you should, because we have plenty of things to give away in the next few weeks. So you really should, now that I think about it.
Cool.
So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Guillaume. Just to finish, to add a few words. You saw in this webinar some best practices created by Guillaume and Yoan from Promyze. So if you don't know Promyze and want to just take a look at it, the idea with Promyze is to help tech teams to share their own best coding practices. So we said a lot. It depends in our context and so on today, and that's why also we created Promyze. We really want to help teams to have their own set of best practices, and the idea is to let everyone sharing new ideas and validate this idea. These ideas as a team, and then you can also get feedbacks in your IDE. Today using regular expression, but we are very soon adding new way of specifying patterns to match patterns in the source code. So yeah, definitively, if you want to take a look at it, just go on promyze.com. And yeah, once again, thank you, Guillaume and Yoan. Just a few just to talk about the next webinar next week. It's also with Nicolas Carlo. So it's really a coincidence, as you can see. We have the same, we have the same speaker, honestly. So, but it's not the same topic. With us, he will talk about how to tame a legacy code base. I'm sure all of you are sometimes struggling with a legacy code base. And later in April, we'll have two webinar in French, one about security. We'll talk about the OWASP rules and how to handle it and the developers. Interesting topic as well. And in May, we'll have a topic with infrastructure as code. All these links will be sent by emails, and you will have the replay on YouTube, as I said. So, do you have anything more to add, Guillaume, Yoan?
I strongly encourage you to go and
yeah.
see. Thank you, Cedric. Yeah, and I encourage you really to go see Nicolas Carlo. I don't know this tool because it's a new one, types at the edge of your system, but I know the concept behind it. It's really cool. But the other one, 7 techniques to tame a legacy code base, it's really interesting with a lot of cool tips. And if it's the same tool I have already seen, and the guy is really cool, so don't hesitate to go there. It's really cool.
Okay, thank you. We'll see it next week. So
yeah.
Okay, I guess it's time for us to end this webinar. Really would like to thank you again, Guillaume and Yoan, for this work you made today, for the code you showed us today, and it was really cool to see some tips for refactoring our code. So really thank you again, and hopefully I hope maybe we could organize more sessions like this in the next months. So let's keep in touch, everyone. Yeah, we'll probably discuss about it.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah.
And thank you for everyone for your participation, for the questions you asked in the chat, and hope you liked it. And yeah, definitely have a good day. Take care, and I hope see you very soon. So
see you soon.
See you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Guillaume.
Bye.
Thank you, Yoan.
Thank you.